Namaste. I want to express myself today on the sanity of amnesty for Mexican immigrants who are here inside the USA without legal documentation, especially those who have been here for years. We need to remember, first of all, that all this land belonged to its original peoples, the indigenous natives of what we call North America. Many Chicanos refer to the U.S. Southwest as Aztlán, A-Z-T-L-A-N. We need to see that immigration reform, as passed by the Senate, now being considered by the House, is not going to work. The whole way that it was even developed was flawed. I'm just one crazy Chicano, but to me, if I'm going to do legislation involving people who are of really two countries, USA and Mexico, I'm going to want to meet with people of Mexico to get their ideas, to get their opinions, to get their analysis. Plus with the people in the USA affected by immigration, with La Raza, with people who live by the borders, U.S.-Mexican border, the border communities, on both sides of the border, in order to get input into creating sane, humane immigration legislation. Basically, what the Senate came out with to appease the racist Republicans is a bill that creates a militarized zone between the U.S. and Mexico. You're talking about drones on the border under a U.S. regime that is already killing people in other countries with drones. So we need to take a good look at what's going on and see how all these issues are interconnected. You can't look at one single issue alone without examining the big picture. Many activists do this on an ongoing basis. You know, they get hyped up about, in America, get hyped up about Syria or about Turkey or about something in some other country, and they don't even look at across the border. Where are the priorities of the so-called progressive people? Where are their priorities? Those of us who are here in the USA, where are your priorities? We got to look at us here in the USA, and then common sense, our neighbors, north of us in Canada, south of us in Mexico, and see how we can better live together and share this hemisphere, along with sharing the natural resources. No one has ever asked my opinion about this. I offer it free of charge. We need to grant amnesty to Mexican immigrants who are already here. Find out who they are, where they are, without them being in fear of deportation. You are not going to get people to come out of the shadows if they fear deportation. This is common sense. This is common sense, logic, rational, sane. Is it not? So say we get people to come out and admit they're here and process them for becoming U.S. citizens. And that process must be sane too. Most Americans cannot even pass, most U.S. citizens cannot even pass a citizenship test. Believe it or not. I believe we should at least be aware, U.S. citizens and potential U.S. citizens should at least be aware of the U.S. Constitution being the law of the land, be aware of the Bill of Rights, have a basic understanding of U.S. law, and not expect them to learn English, not expect them to learn the history in order to become U.S. citizens. They're already here. This is a reality. A connected reality that we cannot ignore. They're already here. 11 plus million. Possibly 13 million. See, we don't even know how many. So to think that a group of old white racist men, I don't care if they're Democrat or Republican, to think that a group of old white racist men are going to figure this out is totally insane. To think that a puppet called Obama can lead this all is totally insane. We're ruled by psychopaths. We're ruled by psychopaths with a pacified population that resembles pre-Nazi Germany. Most so-called Americans have this whole, about Mexican immigrants, have this whole go back to Mexico concept. So we're dealing with a psychopath president with a pacified racist general population among white people, plus other people who may not be white. To me, if you are not supporting immigrant rights, there's potential there that you could just simply be a racist. And you say, well, we can't let these immigrants in here. When the fact is you're a racist. That's why you don't want them here. Denial's a demon. So we need to be really use our common sense. First of all, grant amnesty to the 11 plus million people who are already here. Do good background checks to make sure we don't let any more killers and evil ones that we already have here in the USA, because God knows we have plenty of our own, and process them through a legalization process so they become U.S. citizens. If need be, have dual citizenship between in Mexico and the USA. But this needs to be addressed. This needs to be fixed. This is not going away. And you're not going to fix it if you don't work with those who are affected by it on both sides of the border. You know, the U.S. Senate and U.S. Congress needs to work with immigrant rights advocates who are around, seeking ye shall find, you know, to try to hammer out a decent legislation and get this issue addressed. Plus, understanding that Latinos are a lot more than just about immigration. Same as other people, we have issues in all sectors involving life. You know, food, clothing, shelter, medical care, education. You know, there's so much other stuff that we should be focusing on than just having a narrow focus on immigration legislation. You know, we need to make reforms that we can. You realize that in the long run, we're going to need a global revolution. Namaste.